Welcome to Light Her Up, your go-to podcast for exploring what it means to align with your passions and create a life filled with freedom, ease, and fulfillment. I'm your host, Natalie Bernacchi, a mom, entrepreneur, and certified coach who left a 15-year corporate career to build a life aligned with my passions and help other women do the same. We'll be diving deep into topics like self-discovery, mindset shifts, and the courage to pursue the life you've always dreamed of. Thank you for being here and for prioritizing yourself. I'm honored to be a part of your journey. If you're ready to find your joy, reclaim your identity, and upgrade your life, you're in the right place. Now let's light it up. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the Light Her Up podcast. Today on the show, I am joined by the one and only Emily Collins. It has been a long time coming. And for those of you in my world, you probably already know who she is because I talk about her all the time. She is my business partner and co-creator of the CEO Besties. It's our business where we host incredible masterminds and community. She is a mindset and business coach. And honestly, she is such a true expander for myself and for so many women who are starting their own journeys in entrepreneurship. And Emily's story is such a beautiful reminder that you don't have to have it all figured out to begin. You just need to follow what's pulling you forward. And that is exactly what she did on her journey and how we even first met. So if you've ever felt the pull towards something more, but weren't sure how to begin, then this episode is for you. Okay, I have a question for you. What if your business actually supported your life instead of secretly stealing it? The Rocketship mastermind is here to do just that. It's not just a container, it's a recalibration. It's for the woman who's already in motion, but ready to lead from deeper alignment, build with a clearer strategy, and actually feel the success that she's creating. Inside, we don't just scale revenue, we expand identity. If you're done building alone, questioning your pace, second-guessing your decisions, or trying to squeeze your brilliance into models that weren't built for you, this is the space for you. I've put the link in the show notes, so apply now. I can't wait to see you on board. Hi, Emily.
Hi.
Welcome to the Light Her Up podcast. I can't believe we're finally doing a podcast interview together. I feel like when we first met, we were talking about starting our own podcast, and now we've had them for a couple of months, and finally it's time.
It's wild to be here.
Yeah, so I'm beyond excited to have you here. So many of the listeners may already know this because I talk about you all the time. I share you on social media all the time. But for those who don't, Emily is my business partner. She's the co-creator of the masterminds that we run. And I want to rewind the tape a little bit and just talk about how we met. I don't know that I fully shared the whole story about like behind how we met, how we got the mastermind started, and what our journeys were like to get to that place. So I thought we could talk about that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Amazing. So back when it all started, this was in like late September, October or something like that.
I think September.
Okay.
Yeah.
In 2024,
Yep.
we both went to a fall equinox mother circle in Palos Verdes, California. It was being put on by a mutual friend, Nicole Foster, and her, co-creator, business partner, Whitney. And during that time, I actually was like, as you know, well, as I've told you, an introvert.
Yeah.
And I was really like in a season of putting myself out there. And honestly, I wasn't even going to go. And then somehow I ended up going, and we were sitting in a circle, going around introducing ourselves. And that was the first time that I introduced myself as a mindset coach.
Yeah.
So, but nobody else knew that, just me. And so for me, I remember like even practicing in the car, like, how am I going to embody this and step into this person that I want to be drop the corporate title and just introduce myself as a mindset coach. And so I did that in that circle. And like, everyone, just the next person went around in a circle. And little did I know, it like made a really big impact on you.
Yeah.
So I just want to know, like, when you heard me introduce myself as a mindset coach, what came up for you?
I immediately thought, what is a mindset coach? Like, what does that even mean? And so I think my head was like just kind of spinning in a curiosity way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've talked about this, and if you remember this, but I came up to you at the circle or after the circle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I asked you about it, but it was a little bit chaotic, and then everybody sat down. And so I think I like didn't fully get my questions answered. So then I went home and I was like Googling, like, what is a mindset coach? What do you do? How do you get certified? Mm-hmm. And then I think it was like a month later, or I forget. It must have been November or something. Like it kept with me to the point where I was like, I just got to reach out, or I'd have to ask Nicole, like, hey, who's this Natalie person? Like, introduce me.
Yeah.
So
that's so interesting. And I can see how I probably didn't answer all your questions because I was probably like so new in this embodiment of this new persona that I was like, I'm just going to like answer very vaguely and like move on to so that I don't have to be specific. Because it is uncomfortable coming out of like into this new role.
Absolutely. And now that I know you so well, that interaction makes perfect sense. Yeah. But definitely at the time I thought, does she not want to talk about it? Is she like distracted? You know?
Yeah.
So I could see, but now knowing you, makes perfect sense.
That's so funny. Okay. So yes, about a month or two later, you messaged me, you DM'd me on Instagram and you were like, hey, I met you at the circle. I would love to, or you mentioned something about going down like a deep dive into mindset coaching. Okay. Like the whole topic and theme of it. And you wanted to pick my brain a little bit on mindset in general. And so we ended up going on a walk at the beach, at the Strand, which is like our walking path here at the beach. And I remember that being like such a turning point for both of us. Again, because I'm an introvert, when the day came, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to go. Like, what am I going to talk about? Yeah. And then it was like the best thing ever. We had such a fun time. We walked for like a while, I feel like, and we just couldn't stop talking. Yeah. And you were asking me all the things about like the Quantum Coaching Academy, where I got my certification. And I was telling you about my experience. Also, I'll put the link in the show notes because anyone who's interested in becoming a mindset coach, Ashley Gordon is hands down the best. 100%. Her program's amazing. And I remember you introducing yourself as like a homeschool mama of 4. And it was a little bit like challenging for you to articulate everything that you do because you were doing so much. Yeah. And I remember you saying that you really just introduced yourself all the time as a homeschool mama of 4 because it was almost easier to do that than to explain like everything you were doing behind the scenes for the businesses and like the investments and all of the things. And you also mentioned that you had this dream of launching a blog and a podcast. And I remember being so excited. So before you had ever launched that business, what was that blog dream really about for you?
It was really about having a space where I could like share my thoughts. Like I've always been somebody that has a million ideas. I love trying new things. I love learning new things. And also like in parenting, a lot of friends will always be asking me like, what's your parenting tip for this? Or what's your tip for this? Because I read a lot. And so it's kind of like, what if I had a space where I could just kind of gather everything, you know, like all of our travel stuff, all of our homeschool stuff, like kind of the way we're living our life. And like before that, I wanted to have a food blog. Before that, like a fitness blog. You know, I've like gone through all the ideas, but it finally came down to like me and everything coming back to me. So like I love to cook. I love to travel. I love to homeschool my kids. And so it's kind of like one place to house all of that.
That's amazing.
So that, I was really feeling, I think I didn't have the words for it at the time, but like I needed something for myself.
Yeah.
And like a place that I could be creative and write and just do something for myself.
Yeah. Because at the time, your oldest was 7?
When we met?
Yeah.
Yeah, 7.
So for essentially 7 years, at least, you were just pouring into everyone around you.
Yeah,
except
absolutely.
for you.
Yeah.
Wow. So what held you back from sharing your voice, like actually pressing publish on the blog, moving forward with the podcast? What do you think it was?
I think there's many layers to that. The first, limiting belief that comes up is like lack of time.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, we were in a hard season where we were moving from London back to LA. We were remodeling our house. We were living out of an Airbnb. So there was a time element.
Yeah.
But I kept telling Darren, my husband, like, this is going to happen. And as soon as we're done with the remodel, it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, as we're like finishing the remodel, then you like come into my life. So it was definitely like timing there.
Yeah.
There's definitely like fear of being seen.
Yeah.
And like those thoughts of like, well, what if a friend sees my Instagram or my blog post and like has a thought about it, like all those kind of just fears of being seen.
Yeah. And that's so real and it resonates so much because I think that happens, I'm not going to say to everyone, but to most people.
Yeah.
Because that happened to me. And I remember having to start a whole new Instagram. I did not want to use my Instagram because same thoughts where I'm like, well, what if I show up on my personal Instagram and people who I've known from like high school or my family, they're like, what is she doing? Like, what is this crazy thing? Who does she think she is? So yeah, I get that. I just felt more free and like more able to be who I was when I just started fresh.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. When we were on that walk, it was probably November, I would say.
Mm-hmm. I think it was end of November.
Okay. And I had mentioned to you that I had a plan to quit my 15-year career. I was not going to be there longer than December 31st. Mm-hmm. And it just seemed like we were on very parallel journeys. Like we were on very parallel timelines, like ready to launch. We were both like had a plan. Like we both had a big desire, a big passion. And you had said something like, I would love to get a group of local moms together to support each other in building our businesses together because we're both kind of like in the thick of it. And so are these other moms I know. And you're like, I don't know if anyone else would do it. And I'm like, I would do that. Like I would jump at that. Because at the time I was also craving connection so much. I felt like a lone wolf. And so when I met you, it really opened up my eyes to like, oh my gosh, this would be so much more fun to do it with other women. Yeah. And then a few walks later, I think you asked me if I would co-host.
Was it even a few walks later?
I don't know.
I think it was not. I think it was like maybe one walk later.
Okay, one walk later.
I
don't remember. You're probably right though. And I just remember when you asked me, I was like, really? Me? Like,
yeah. Really?
Like, oh, yeah.
You never told me that.
No, I was like, really? Me? Like, wow. I kind of felt honored. Like, oh my gosh, she wants to co-host this with me. So then I was like, sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
And then we thought maybe we would get like 8 people. I remember like meeting at the coffee shop, drafting our like initial plan. And we're like, let's keep it intimate. Maybe we could get 8 people.
Yeah.
And then we ended up overselling the first one at 16 women who wanted to join, plus more. So we had to cap it.
Yeah.
And then we launched another one shortly after, another 16 women. So now we support 32 women.
So amazing.
It's so amazing. And they're all incredible.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just even such a like our audience obviously was a lot smaller at the time. So even our reach to get women in the container and to think like we were able to get 32 women just based off of our little network that we have is so cool. And everyone's inspiring. Everyone is just, it's like pinching myself every day.
Oh, it's like pure magic, honestly.
It's so amazing. But since that time, so not only have we launched the 2 mastermind groups that are, full on, everyone's all in, 32 women. We've both graduated QCA because I was about to graduate when I first met you. Then you went through the whole program, which by the way is intense.
It is intense.
It's a lot, and
Yeah.
it's really amazing, but it is a big commitment.
As it should be, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. And we both built our brands alongside each other, still building our individual brands. We started a company essentially because we weren't even planning to do this as a business.
No.
It just sort of like unfolded that way.
Yeah.
And now we're building the foundations of our brand and our masterminds going forward for 2026. And it's just so incredible. Can you believe how much has shifted?
No. Even when you say it, it just feels so incredible.
I know.
And it feels like, how can we've come so far in such a short amount of time.
I know.
So that's also a huge thing that we should be celebrating.
Totally. And time is such a strange concept to me because yes, it's been, I mean, really, like we met at the end of September. It's only June. It hasn't even been a full year. And like, we are on rocket ships.
Totally. Rocket ship energy.
And just so much has happened. So it feels like a lot longer.
Yeah.
But it really hasn't been, which is amazing. But let's talk about the shift.
Okay.
So you said yes to personal development, which you've always been obviously in the world of personal development. But you said yes to the Quantum Coaching Academy.
Mm-hmm.
You went through with that certification. You said yes to the mastermind idea, even before you truly felt ready.
Mm-hmm.
And what changed? Like, what changed when you fully committed to that path?
Everything. Where do I start? I mean, it's like you say yes to one thing and you realize, oh, that wasn't so bad. Mm-hmm. And oh, I did it. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of get addicted to like doing hard things.
Yeah.
So it was like the first yes kind of led to the second yes. And then the rest just kind of exploded.
I love that. And yeah, it is addicting. Yeah. It's this energy that you're feeding off of.
It is.
And it's like, it's fun too.
And I'm the type that like once I see a limiting belief and I'm aware of it, it's gone. Mm-hmm. It takes me a while to like see all the things that are blocking me.
Yeah. Which is natural.
Yeah.
I feel like if we all knew what our limiting beliefs were.
Totally. But for me, it's just awareness is really big. Once I'm aware of it, it's usually pretty easy to get rid of.
Once you know about it, you do something about it. That's awesome. So you've said that mindset is the strategy. Mm-hmm. So can you unpack that for us a little bit?
Yeah, I think, you can have all the business strategy in the world, right? And you can have every plan and every coach and every mentor, and you can do every course. But without that mindset piece, you're still not showing up. You're still not posting on social media. You're still, there's things that are holding you back. Mm-hmm. And so I think the two really have to go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. Or you're not going to go as far as you could.
Mm-hmm. So true. Yeah, I think the mindset, as we've also like been shown in our masterminds that we're running, so many of the women, they have the strategy.
Yeah.
And they're just at a plateau, or they're not necessarily stuck, but they're just like, I don't know how to move forward. And it's because of the mindset piece.
Yeah.
And being able to see them unlock that.
Yeah.
Honestly, even being able to see each other unlock some of those things and amazing. Just take off. It's been really inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
This might be a weird example, but even with my kids, I tell them, you want to be good at sports? It's your mindset, right? Mm-hmm. The best professional athletes, they work on their mindset.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about winning or losing or your skills. It's about like, how do you think about that? How do you move through the hard stuff? All of it. So it all comes down to it. And even with my kids, we talk about it.
Yeah. I love that. And speaking of your kids, I love that you also include them in your business, in your life, because like one of our core pillars of our philosophy of our brand and masterminds is that your business should be a part of your life, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Your business should support the life that you want.
Absolutely.
And I think you're doing an incredible job modeling that for your kids. And you can see it because they're just so excited and curious about what you're doing.
Yeah.
So tell me more about how you've been including your kids on the journey. I'm sure the listeners would love to hear because a lot of the audience are mamas and they also want to include their kids. So
it's actually kind of top of mind because we just got back from Japan, obviously, and the kids were really kind of part of taking all the pictures. And I really don't like to be on my phone. So if I am, I explain to them, like, I'm taking a picture and this is what I'm doing with it. My oldest really wants to know, like, okay, well, are you putting, he always says, are you putting it on your podcast? I say, well, no, the pictures go on Instagram. You know, I make little videos. And my oldest is really interested in editing. And I said, you know, kind of one day I said, why don't we teach you? You know, even if you don't know how to read yet, you could learn on an iPad and an app. And I mean, technology is incredible these days. Yeah. So although I'm a little bit tech shy with the kids for many reasons, I do think there's an element where like he's learning skills that are true life skills. And really they're seeing me build this business from day one. Whereas my husband, who's also entrepreneurial, they never saw the behind the scenes. He already had a business and he goes to work. Yeah. Whereas mine was really a shift because I was going from being with them all day, every day to now I'm carving out time for this. So they were very aware of it. Like, wait, what are you doing? And what are you working on? And who's Natalie? And where are you going? You know? So in Japan, we had a lot of conversations of like, how do you want to be involved? And do you want to be involved? And so one idea we had was, if we decide to show the kids on social media, which I think we have, why don't I pay you? Why don't you be an employee of the business? And I really want them, I'll take their lead on it. You know, if they don't want to be involved, they don't have to, but they really want to. Yeah. So I'm kind of constantly up in the middle of the night thinking like, what would it look like? And how could I get them more involved in a way that works for me and for them? So my latest idea is that they get paid for it.
I love that.
And so it's a true job.
Yeah. And it's showing them so many core fundamentals just about life, not even about a job or building a business. There's so many layers and elements that go into that. Yeah. And you're also teaching them that you can do whatever you want to do. Yeah. Like,
which is a core value of like our family.
Yeah. And you can pivot at any time. So what was it like when you decided like, okay, I'm going to really go all in on myself. I'm going to launch this blog, this podcast. Now we have this business with the mastermind. So when you started to shift from being mostly fully like a stay-at-home mom to actually carving out time and like telling the kids like, oh, I have to go to work today kind of thing. Yeah. How did you explain to them and what did that look like? How did they take it, I guess?
You know, I think we've had many conversations. One that kind of sticks out to me. It's usually my oldest. He's just obviously a bit older and more interested. I said, you know what? He's very aware that our life looks different than many people, just from homeschooling and traveling and the way that Darren and I do business. And we had this conversation of like, that's interesting for people, you know, to see how we do life. And so I really want to share that and inspire people that really you can create your life however you want. Yeah. And so I think, you know, that message to your kid is priceless. But that was kind of like one of many conversations that we've had. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. Okay. No, I love it. I think that's so important because I think for a lot of people, women and men in our generation, like fell into the trap of just being an autopilot and doing what the world says you need to do, doing what your parents say you need to do. Yeah. I certainly did. And sometimes I still catch myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, snap out of that. Like, wait, you're falling into the same trap. Yeah. But now I'm aware. Yeah. And it's really this unlearning.
It is.
So yeah, I love that for your kids.
Yeah. No, the unlearning is a big piece of it. And it's not easy because we are so conditioned and for, 30, 40 years to be conditioned for that long.
I know. And it's like a generational thing because it's so ingrained in like our ancestral just history. It's wild how deep down that is.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Hence the mindset work.
Yes. And I do think once you start questioning one, two things. It's kind of like saying yes. It's like you start with one question and then kind of get more curious, and then you've opened the can of worms. You have to question everything.
Question everything.
Yeah.
Actually, that was something you told me when we first met.
Okay.
And I remember being like, okay, she's one of my people, because it's so true.
Yeah.
It's like, why do we just take what people say like as if that's what we should do?
Yeah.
So anyhow, so what does business and life look like for you now?
Well, literally right now, it's really shifting. Ever since we got back from Japan 3 days ago, Darren and I are really shifting roles a bit. He has been a super successful entrepreneur, and I think he's kind of excited to like keep his businesses running, but actually really slow down and like be with the kids. It's kind of like a new challenge for him. You know, it's chaotic and it's hard for him and hard for me too, but to be with all four. So I think the kids are getting older, and he's really inspired of how can I be part of the homeschooling and not just, you know, bystander. So how can I take, you know, Liam, the 6-year-old, to see animals, because that's his favorite thing. And so it kind of just really unfolded naturally, where like he was ready for that and I'm ready to like go. And so our conversation recently was, you know, him saying, this is your moment, like go for it with Natalie. You both are so lit up and so passionate, and like what you're doing is so special. I like kind of get emotional when I think about that conversation, because it's like to be seen in that way. Obviously you and I feel that about the business, but for him to see it was really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love how like just in alignment you both are. And I do love to see how much he supports you and what you want to do.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Like,
Yeah.
I think you guys really do a great job of balancing each other out and both being very present parents with your kids.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I think it helps to know like what your vision is for your family and for your life, and to kind of make sure you're always keeping those core values.
Yeah. And I'm sure we're going to do another podcast episode on that, because it's so important.
Yes, it's so important.
It's so important. So what feels most aligned for you in terms of how you support the women inside of our mastermind? Because obviously the mastermind is like front and center in our lives right now.
Yeah.
And it is what's really lighting both of us up.
Yeah. So kind of what part of it lights me up the most?
Yeah. Like what is feeling most aligned? What's lighting you most up? Like after every single mastermind like event that we have, you're up all night, like just buzzing with energy.
Because I'm an extrovert.
True.
So I just like am high off of the energy. Realizing that like you can, like we're changing people's lives, you know, not to be dramatic about it, but it's true. And it's like something that just started so organically and so kind of like you and I needed it. So we started it. And that's the best things start like that, right?
Yeah.
Because we needed it. I just like, I always refer back to the first meeting of the first cohort. It was an energy like I don't think I've ever felt before.
Yeah.
And you and I didn't even know each other very well at that point. I don't think I'd even seen you for a month. But it was just like pure magic. There's no better word. So I think that I'm really realizing that in-person connection. Of course, we're going to bring that magic online, and I'm really excited to do that in a creative way. And there's just something about connecting and like women connecting. Kind of like the conversation the other day about like your partner obviously plays a big role in your life. And the women inspiration and that energy is just so important too.
It really is. It is. And I remember that meeting vividly, and it was just so powerful.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's like we really didn't know each other that well.
No.
And I do think it's so incredible that when you get these groups of really powerful women together, how quickly they drop in, how quickly we drop in. We were just chatting in our mastermind this week that all of these women, including ourselves, were complete strangers just a few months ago.
Yeah.
And now everyone's like, you know, becoming each other's clients and working with each other, going on walks together, becoming friends, like building these really organic, authentic, strong, powerful relationships. And it's so amazing.
Well, I think when you meet people, you know, I don't want to say later in life, but, you know, we're a bit older and more mature, and it's like you're meeting really like-minded people with similar values.
Mm-hmm.
And I love, you know, all of my past friends, high school friends, college friends dearly. And as you change, it's really nice to find relationships that really meet you where you are right now. Yeah. And I think that's why they're able to just click so quickly. Although I still was surprised how quickly it happens.
Yeah, it was so fast.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think it just accelerates things.
Yeah.
Because you're in a room of women who can truly see you for who you are, because they're doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Even if they're at a different level in their business or a different stage, or maybe this is their first business or their third business or whatever their circumstances, they all have the same purpose and the same desire. And it's just wild.
And it just feels so safe. Like so many women have been so vulnerable. And it's amazing. Mm-hmm. And it just speaks to the power of how safe that space is and how needed it is too, you know, to be able to open up like that.
True. It is, truly. Okay. So if you could go back to that version of yourself, the one that when we met, you were sitting on this dream about the blog, about launching the podcast, you had this really big vision, didn't maybe know exactly quite what that was. And also for the woman now who's listening, who feels like she's in her not ready season. And she's sitting on an idea. What would you want her to know?
I think, you know, putting myself back in those shoes, I didn't even have a big vision. I didn't even allow myself to have that big vision. So I think there's two elements to it. One is the moment I just started, that big vision unraveled. Mm-hmm. You know, you came into my life and many, many different things happened where all of a sudden it was all clicking and I had this huge vision. Mm-hmm. So I think there's an element of not allowing myself. And then there's an element of until you start, it's hard to have that huge vision because you just don't even know quite what's possible. So I think my biggest piece of advice is literally just start. Messy, not ready, and really surrounding yourself with people that are going to cheer you on when you're in that stage of like, oh my God, this is so scary.
Yeah, it's so true. You just have to start. And I will say, for anyone who doesn't know you personally, since getting to know you, I've seen like you are such an expander to people. Like you've expanded me, you've expanded the women in our mastermind. Whenever I'm personally sharing a vision, you're like, that's it? But like in the most loving, caring way, because you know that I can dream bigger or the women in our mastermind can go bigger. And like we all have it in us. So being around women who do that, it's so important.
Yeah. By the way, that was like the highest compliment anyone has ever given me. And I didn't think of myself like that. And I immediately went home to Darren and I was like, Natalie thinks I'm an expander. But then I like kept thinking about it. And I was like, no, that's true. And I should own that piece of it because I just didn't identify with it before.
Yeah. Because you're always questioning societal norms. And even with your kids, like I see how you're just constantly expanding them. And Darren.
Yes. And Darren. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah. So actually, I love to end my podcast with a few rapid fire questions.
Let's go.
So what is one belief you let go that changed everything for you?
I mean, I would say fear of being seen, but even deeper than that, like honestly, just the fear of what other people will think. Like I've just let it completely go. And I feel like it is the most freeing thing possible.
Yeah, it is. Dancing in the rain.
Yes. No, exactly. Exactly.
I love it. And what's one thing you no longer feel like you have to earn?
I don't know how to answer that. Let me think. I don't think that's kind of been a limiting belief for me, to be honest. Yeah, I think I've dropped that so long ago that I can't even remember what it feels like.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Okay. And then this question I ask everyone on the podcast, but what's something you're currently working on that's lighting you up from the inside out?
I mean, the obvious is like this mastermind. Like I am so full in it. I was up at 2:30 a.m. Not on purpose, but like I'm just so excited. And when we were journaling the other day in our mastermind, I feel like we've built the foundation of our house, and now we're like getting to the framing and the building it and like really seeing the dream come to life. And like nothing's more exciting than that.
Yeah. It's been so amazing. It is same. Like I just don't want to put my laptop away. Matt's like, okay, can you put that away? And I'm like, but I just love doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's such a good feeling.
And I feel like we really are, we're really doing a lot of like systems and foundational work. And now we're like really getting to the like meat and the juice and just the exciting part.
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been awesome. And I just love hearing about your journey. And I'm so glad that we got to share it with the audience today. And where can listeners find you? Where can they get in your world?
Yeah. Follow me on Instagram. Hey, Emily Collins. And my website is emilycollins.com. And those are the two best places.
Cool. And I know this conversation is going to expand so many women because you are an expander.
Thank you.
And for the listeners, just a reminder, applications for our next round, our upcoming round of our first virtual mastermind, the Rocketship, is officially open. Yeah. So we'll put the link to the application in the show notes. It'll also be on our websites. But if you are craving a room, what we just talked about, where your vision is held, where you're seen, where you're heard, your energy is honored, your business is built to support your life and not the other way around, this is it. And we would love to chat with you. We'd love to get to know you. So let us know, and hope you all have an amazing day. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Light Her Up. I hope you're feeling inspired and ready to take steps towards a life better than you ever dreamed. I see you, I hear you, and I'm so proud of you for showing up and prioritizing your journey. When you fill up your cup with love, you can pour so much more into the people and passions that matter to you most. If this episode resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you subscribed, left a review, and shared it with someone who could use a little extra light. For more, check out our weekly 5-minute meditations or connect with me on Instagram at The Light Within Collective. I'm sending you my love, and I'll catch you on the next episode.